The world of I don't matter. Let me tell you how I came to this the other day and how we're going to deal with this as background limiting beliefs, because people talk about limitations to growth. People talk about limiting beliefs, but don't really have practical tools for people to use to get out of that trap, because that's what they are. It's an emotional trap that you're in. That comes from the meaning that we assign to things, right? And so we get trapped in that meaning and the way things should be. So I was unpacking this the other day around my relationship to money and something else I was dealing with at the moment. But I was like, okay, if I'm clear that like my financial wound, like my financial trauma is like what was in my subconscious, the story was that money causes pain and fractures families. Because when I was a little girl, I just didn't get to see my cousin anymore. Like, boom, she was just like, boom, like gone. Like her brother, her family, the traveling, the experience of being together as a family, going down there, like all of that was just like all of a sudden no more. And so because I also knew some things about my family, for me, what I made up as a child was money causes pain and fractures families. So you can imagine how that goes. I can generate, but then, you'll give it away. You'll find ways to spend it. You'll fuck it up. Right. So, and because it's what's running the beliefs in the background. That's why people win the lottery and then are broke again. Okay. And so it's important to deal with the belief system to support what it is that you're manifesting, because that's how you're bringing it in. It's to get the supportive belief system and generate who you get to be. So on that note, I was dealing with the background belief of I don't matter. Now, let me show you how I got to that, because I was like, okay, so if that is the financial trauma, then what happened? What actually happened? Okay, I didn't get to see my cousin for years. And because we were children, we didn't get to talk. So it was just like, that's a fractured family thing for me, that I made that up. I'm making up this story about being fractured, right? So what was the meaning that I gave not being able to see her anymore? What did I make that mean? And I was sitting there, I was literally, this is what I was doing in the mirror, looking at myself and sorting through it. Oh, if they wouldn't make sure that I got to see my cousin and not knowing, if they must have known how it made me feel, I don't matter. It was like right there, and boom, there flowed this. I knew I was on it. I knew I was on it. Now, at 48, that's absurd. I would never think that now. But that wounded inner child, that's the way that works. And it's the healing work inside of those belief systems that let me know what I went through and what I experienced in the last 6 months. It just really narrowed my focus in the healing space. So I know now that what I'm really doing is helping people to generate who they get to be. Like, what are the tools that we get to bring? Like, I was in these personal and professional development and training courses for years before it really, really, was like, oh no, these are really tools that I use in the moment of a breakdown. I declare a breakdown and then I, do the thing. I use the tools. And I had the benefit of friends, beautiful, bold Black women around me and other women around me. And just friends, men around me, my parents, my grandmother, just around me, just loving me and affirming. I can't wait till we talk about affirmations, but really affirming to me who I am in the world and what I stand for. And so if my behavior is not in alignment with that, then where there is for me to go to work is the system of belief. Is to go to work in the system of belief and to develop a way. It was very, very important to me to develop a way to be able to speak to that. How am I going to distinguish myself as a mentor, as a coach in this space? How am I taking all of these tools that I have in these various areas of like nutrition and physical health and, mental and emotional health, spiritual health and sexual health? How do I take all of these beautiful connections that I have? How do I monetize this and turn this into a business? How do I create a system that I can manage so that I can serve people without overly giving or people pleasing or coming from the places that it used to come from? Because I used to have to be really upset or charged up by some kind of injustice in order to get a thing done. And now I can just sit down, create a campaign, create a system for it, enroll other people around it to build a team and get it done. It took training to be able to do that, because yes, there's innate intelligence. You can be smart. But, there is a way to conduct business. I love the way my friend Sherry says all things in good and decent order, and right and decent order. And it's part of what made her conference so powerful, by the way, because it was just... But, that's the thing that I'm learning for myself. And, I didn't want to share my own personal journey of healing because, you're supposed to be offering this to other people. So how are you going to share your story with them if you feel like you're still going through it? And it was like, no, that's exactly what it is that the Most High would have me to do, is to share that story. And then there were women that were coming into my life that were healing from these very hardcore relationships, either being ghosted or having been breadcrumbed or having been love bombed. These are terms that I learned, having gone through it. These are terms that I learned. And so and why that's relevant is because I spent the summer in the house. You know what I mean? Mostly I was in the lab. I was like healing, licking my wounds, going through the humbling process, dealing with brokenheartedness, very confused, trying to figure all of this out, feeling very much some other kind of interesting spiritual things were going on. And we'll talk about that at another time. That's going to be a wild, but I'm going to talk about it because I have just seen that I'm not in any of this by myself. Like, I'm going through all of this, like, not alone. Like, there's so many other people that I've seen all up and down my timeline that are going through this, so I'm just like, okay, this is a thing. This is a thing. The girlies are really out here on some hardcore witchcraft stuff. Yeah. Okay. These love spells and things that people are doing. Okay. I see. But we'll get into that. I think I'll probably do that on like TikTok or something and make a various real thing. That'll be fun. And I can deal with this now, and really feel like I had to develop more of a refined message. So not only are we talking about how you're going to make the offer, like what are you going to have people do? How are you going to deliver this on social media? How are you also going to monetize and bring people to these structures that you've already created? How are you going to put in a system that's going to make sense, that people are going to enjoy and have added value to them? And how are you going to focus this down on just these things? Because I'm also very passionate about community economic development and self-determination and social enterprise. So I have a nonprofit where I get to have a vehicle to have that full self-expression of who I am in business as a social entrepreneur. So how do you do all of this and do it in months and not years, and do it by yourself because you don't have the resources to have a team around you? How do you use the skills and the resources and the network that you have and be able to create something that you can do for people? And then all of a sudden these campaigns started being birthed out of just like who I am as a woman, a mother, and an entrepreneur. And it was just like, okay. And I had a meeting, and this brother named Chris was like, that's it. Just focus on that. And I was like, duh, And so, yeah, it's like, I got some stuff for you because, and it's for people that really want to do the work. When people talk about doing the work, a lot of times people say, doing the work, you need to do the work, but they don't really know what work looks like. And sometimes people will say, I go to therapy, but to me, and I assert this with all due respect, therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy and transformation seems, in my opinion, it occurs for me like it's beginning to take a critical mass amongst Black American culture, right? I've been in that game for a long time. And so when I get into the distinctions of the things that I'm talking about, and I get into the distinctions of an integrated healing process, I'm talking about more than therapy. I'm talking about doing these different things at the same time. And so that is the course offering. So when I talk about Narcissism No More, okay, I'm talking about taking responsibility for the fact that I created a story that I started living inside of called I Don't Matter, and a host of other things, right? And there was a way that I was being about life, about business, and the things that I was creating. And I became a space for someone like that to be able to be in my life. And that does not mean that it's all bad, because that's not a bad person, right? Everybody has their own path that they get to walk. Everybody, I'm grateful to him. I'm grateful to the people that were involved with him in these circumstances, because it brought me to self-love. Right? It was the gateway for me to see that the unconditional love was the unconditional love that I really have for myself, and I got real clear about what I want and what I don't want. And I also got real clear about what I'm a space for and what I deserve. And I would not, only through being in love with someone could you care enough about not being mishandled, about not being mistreated, about not being the space for certain things that people become used to when they are accustomed to dealing with another narcissist, or they're addicted to codependency. And so when we have that kind of dynamic going on in our culture, and we keep talking about what's going to bring black males and females together in relationships, getting to your belief system, healing that inner woundedness, and telling the truth about where you need to. Because when those thoughts come up in your mind that you're trying to let go and not feel, the thing to do is to feel them, and to also be doing these other things. And so that you can do. And it's not necessarily the way, but it's a way. And it is my personal experience. So I love sharing my stories as I go along in the process. And so that's just what we're sharing now. You know, that's what I'm sharing now. And that is the business. And it is going to be fun. And it's just going to be an amazing time of being able to help people move through these spaces. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't seek a therapist. It's quite the opposite. Like, we're going to do the foundational work so that you can do your therapy with velocity. So you can do your detox and your training and your all those other things that you do to care for yourself. When you come into this Narcissism No More program, when you come into that course, you'll be able to do it with like a certain amount of power when you go through it. When you come in and do this 28-day walk and take this journey with your personal self for 28 days, shut everything else out and focus on yourself for 28 days. Because the friends that love you and care about you and want you to succeed will understand. And they will make space for you to be able to heal. And they will be there for you. You know I have a source team. You know, I talk about a source. I have a source team, right? I have a source of women that I can call for prayer. Certain people, I don't ask everybody to pray for me, especially after what I have come through. Okay, I definitely don't ask everybody to pray for me, right? I used to do that. I don't ask everybody for their prayers. I don't allow people to be in my space the way that I was anymore. I don't have that level of blind trust anymore in my life after having gone through dealing with other people's unhealed wounds that for me exposed my own. So I can still be grateful and not be stupid, right? And that's the thing. So we are not a space for toxicity. We are not a space for other people's unhealed wounds, unrecognized emotions, and refusal to be accountable. We're not a space for that. And as long as you're a space for that, there's areas about that is mirroring you and how you're showing up and not willing to tell the truth about. And that's what we're going to be dealing with on the Talk on Sunday. So Sunday at 2:00, there'll be some information somewhere. I'll be posting about it every day, you know, because I got to get out of the perfectionism of it all. Because if not, I'll just be procrastinating forever and the message just won't get there. So like, we'll probably post this to YouTube and then make a snippet of it. And I'm just choosing to like have fun with it. I'm choosing to like bring in the money from deservability, from worthiness, and from it being a evidence that I'm doing exactly what the Most High would have me to do, that I am honoring my inner being, that I'm honoring who it is that I say that I am to my community and to the world, to my family, to my children, and to the extended members of my family, which are my friends that I love so much. All right. So I love all of you. Please be looking for all of the promotion around Narcissism No More. And be looking at Healthy Response Solutions, because I'm going to be putting the products there. That was the other thing. Yeah. So learning how to begin to separate these platforms and make them work for me. Because it really, to me, isn't about just like people have seen me kind of like sporadically posting here and there, here and there, here and there. Because I'm building a muscle for consistency. So it's not that that's inconsistent. I'm building a muscle for consistency by seeing what works. How does this feel to me? And getting out of the world of what other people think, and getting out of the world of other people's timelines and other people's expectations, right? Of how they think you should be, and stepping into a should-free life transformed me from the inside out, like really. And so now I just feel like I can approach my business with power, and I'm not bringing my business to the marketplace to fix anyone. You know, I'm here to share, you know, and that's really just that. I'm just here to share, and the money will be there because the money is there for me, and I'm a space for it, right? I'm a space for it. And I've been doing the actual work for my own self and building a muscle for it to share my experiences that will make a difference for who it's for. And we're building an amazing community of people that will know themselves as powerful, fulfilled, free, prosperous, fully self-expressed, deeply satisfied, people that will know how to communicate in a way that the conditions for their satisfaction of life are met by themselves and the people around them, including their children, So it is about being a space for willing to be trained. People talk about being coachable. Do you want to be, do you want the tools to be able to live into the life you want? Do you want the tools to be able to not be a space to attract people that need to continue to show you the mirror because you're not willing to look at it and tell yourself the truth about how you're showing up with others? You're not willing to have the uncomfortable and difficult conversations that come along with shedding all those old ways of being that you cannot take with you as you level up and ascend. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that and get us through this time powerfully, moving through the spaces in our lives with power and vigor and aliveness is what's available to us. We don't have to fear things. There might be things that might make you feel certain emotions like fear, being afraid of something, being concerned for the future, but it doesn't have to take you out because, life will take you out if you don't have a belief system to support who it is that you're declaring yourself to be. Because if the circumstances don't align with what it is that you're up to, then it's just kind of like, don't nobody want to be around me right now. Don't nobody want to be around me because they know that you can't sustain your happiness depending on the circumstances. So it was important to me to go to work so that the work was authentic and real for me as a real experience of healing, of what it is to not be taken out by life, to not just be talking about letting some things go, but that it actually, I'm free of it physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. The charge is not there. I know how to process it in real time and be with myself and deal with what's coming up for me and get complete real quick, And so it isn't that, shit might not happen. That happens because there are certain things that will not be in your control, but what you can control is you. And it does take tools to be able to do that, coming from power, coming from love, coming from being a stand for yourself and others, so that your children are not seeing you emasculate their father or him manipulating you. The children don't have to have an experience of seeing two narcissistic people that are addicted to codependency, because that is why, we're having a social mobility issue, and that will start bleeding over into who I am as a social entrepreneur and social determinants of health and all those kind of conversations that I like to have, but they overlap. And so finding a way to deliver them to the world without brand confusion was really something, because I'm the brand at the end of the day. I'm talking about, who I am, and I'm building trust with you so that you believe me. I don't want to be a person. I don't have to have imposter syndrome when I know that I'm doing the work, when I know that I can just sit in front of the camera and be authentic. And when I wasn't able to do that, I needed to deal with the belief system that I had going on that wasn't supporting my being able to do it, and do it with power, not faking it till I make it. Because I'm not interested in faking it till I make it, right? I'm interested in the power, the rigor, the vigor, the velocity, the aliveness of life, the possibilities of life. You can feel it when the Kundalini starts to rise as you share, and you know that the spirit is just like taking over you, and you're just sharing from your heart, and you know that it's just there and people can feel it. It's a real, authentic, juicy way of being. So, okay. Yeah. So Healthy Response Solutions is going to be for all things my health and wellness ministries, all things salad in a jar parties, all things sourdough parties, all things soup in a jar parties, all things, statistics about health and how we're getting access. Excuse me. Excuse me. Way too excited. How we're getting access to. Isn't this cup the cutest ever? Look, that's me and my mama. I love my mother so much. Y'all do, ooh-wee. And it took work. It took work. I mean, I always loved her, but it took work to have an authentic, real relationship where where there was trust and acknowledgement. So yeah, where was I at? Okay. Yes. Healthy Response Solutions will be all things, those, healthy, whole food access, because I like to make it easy for people. And I believe wholeheartedly community economic development starts with the people. And if people, and this is the bottom line for me, I'm not in the world of grant writing right now. I'm not even concerned about it because I know what's happening there. Because I know that whole abolition of DEI is coming for funding. So it's not like you can't produce a program for Black children or Latino children or for women or whatever. You just can't be getting funds as exclusively a Black owned, operated, Black run nonprofit, and those monies be earmarked to you for you to then go service that population. They want it to be open to everyone. And so they start slapping these lawsuits. Okay, there was a wonderful person, I think it was Rashana Lagan, that put it in my chat when I was telling the community, you better start looking at this money that's being spent in your neighborhood, right? Because, we'll save that for a second. But the healthy response solutions piece is to address that whole world of that. Because to me, if the community is not making money, if the congregation ain't getting paid, if the congregation can't come together to practice the Nguzu Saba, but we celebrating it, it's inauthentic. It's inauthentic to be celebrating Kwanzaa and not practicing it throughout the year and not finding practical ways to actually do it. And then wanting to applaud ourselves for the less than 3%, when we have the capacity. I'm bringing myself out of the comparative view of other groups because I'm tired of being trapped in like the comparative view to white people for everything that I do that's supposed to be successful. It has to be this comparison to what white folks is doing when Black people have already done it. And I know that when we talk about belief systems to support it, we have to deal with the completion conversations around race and around the part of us that, experiences our Blackness from a place of disempowerment, right? And minority and everything that we have bought into the conversations that we've had. So it's a lot of work that we get to do, but I promise you it's going to be done in such a great, well-managed way that really just provides grace and compassion and freedom and fun and self-expression without the anger. It's really a place to be able to heal from that so that you can really get clear about why you feel like confrontation needs to be war. I will never forget the day that Jim Zarvo said, confrontation doesn't have to be war, Sharita. And I was like, I'd never even considered. And I was only 26. I hadn't even considered that you could confront something without it being a war. And so how do you come from love to deal with racism? How do you come from, and I'm not talking about kumbaya. How do you be powerful but still stand in love, standing for humanity, standing for Black people, okay? And come from love because it's a powerful frequency because guilt and shame is on the bottom. And you're not really going to manifest much more than more experiences to experience guilt and shame. So that's what this work is about. And that's what these, going through the motions of having to figure out what am I going to use this platform and to say what. And then when to take that away and put it on this platform so that people get just a taste of this, because it all needs to still lead to the money. But I'm still talking about the money from a progressive, innovative way where we get to build community and do community economic development work together. And we get to really have the products and services in place at a very basic level to just start building the pieces of what does it look like? Because you get to be the one to create it. Right? I just want to make sure that I'm delivering service and products that get the groundwork solid, the foundation of it solid, so that we're not taken out by life and we can go on and create the life of our dreams and live into it, right? With power and freedom and love and togetherness, because I like y'all, for real. All right. Have a great night and be looking for the promos, and I will see y'all in the morning.